Here's the truth about what I want to talk to you guys today. I legitimately think we don't talk about this enough. Even though I've seen a shit ton of stuff about this on Twitter, even though I've seen many other creators with their thumbnails and their videos about this, I still don't think this is brought up enough. I still don't think people think about it. I still think a majority of the gacha fandom either just doesn't know this is going on or hasn't been taught to care. You know what? It's okay if you don't care. But all I'm saying is I believe that this should be something every one of us here should try to disseminate as much as we can. And talk about it as much as we can with our friends, with everybody that we talk around, and the fandoms that we're part of, the games that we play, the Discord servers that we're at. The number one reason why I started streaming in the first place was to kind of be able to put out there ideas about gacha games and gacha systems that I feel are very important that people know before they decide to use their money on this shit. You know, to spend their money on these kinds of games. And the main theme today is competition. How competition is extremely important to this medium. Now I'm going to be real with you guys. I never did like the gacha system itself, the gacha monetization system, one would say. But there was a big time in my life where I really felt like a lot of the games that I wanted to play, or in other words, weeb-ass Eastern games, they just were gachas. For the longest time, a lot of the games from the franchises that were well established that I loved, that I wanted to play, and new games coming out that looked like something, you know, right out of my childhood, like something that I fucking would love just from the look of the cover of the game, they were gachas. And these games ended up sucking me in because they're free. Even though, you know, the joke, they're free until they're not. If we're gonna play devil's advocate, they do provide you with a shit ton of hours of free content. Most of these games that we're going to talk about today allow you to clear at least the main scenario quests, the entire story, and, you know, some easy mode bosses without having to spend a single cent, unless you really, really want that character just to clear the story with. So there is a huge positive aspect for it. And I always tell you guys, especially for a guy like me who, you know, I'm from Brazil, now I'm in America, but I understand the struggle that Brazilian players have to just be able to buy a game, dude. And knowing that these kinds of games are out there for them to play for a long, long time is something that I think is ultimately good for the player and for the industry. But even if a lot of those hours are grindy, there still is that, you know, 16, maybe even 30 hours worth of content that you can just get out of the main scenario, that you don't really need to level up an entire team, very well made, very well built with substats, yada, yada, yada. It is entertaining for a lot of people, and I think it's cool that it's free. So that's the biggest reason why I got into these games in the first place and why I started to play them as much as I did. Now, I do believe that we've seen a little bit of a resurgence in anime style or Eastern games, one would say. So gacha isn't becoming something that, you know, I need to play to get my fix on my weeb stuff that I love. The big thing I want to talk about is something that Amro brought in chat a little while ago. And I've been talking also to other guys in chat about it, right in NBDiba, if I'm not mistaken, that there are so many gacha games coming out right now that the market is getting extremely super saturated with these games. And it doesn't help that these games are also built from the ground up to make you play as many hours of them as possible and have to log in every day and have to use your time. So the big thing is how many of these are starting to show up in the industry, and how many of these you can actually play, and how many of these you actually like to play, and what decisions are you supposed to make when you're picking one of these games to play. What I wanted to bring with you guys here today is a little bit of the history of gacha games ever since I started playing, at the very least, which was around 2018, I want to say. And I want to focus on the very positive aspects that this kind of competition that is happening right now has towards us, the players, and what we should do from now on. Like, what are we going to do to choose which game are we going to play? So I want to bring this up. I prepared this here. So my first gacha game I have ever played was Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. It was a great game as far as story goes, in my opinion. Really hit an itch that I've been waiting for a while. It is a 1-for-1 original pixel art new Final Fantasy game at the time. I absolutely loved what they chose to do with the game. I loved what they chose to do, like how you set your party up. I loved the main characters. I loved the story. I thought it was much, much better than what I was expecting out of a mobile game. And you have to remember that the time this game came out, mobile games were really, really bad. I guess I had never thought of a mobile game as a game where I actually was going to sit down, play it, and enjoy a story, enjoy the gameplay like an actual game. So Brave Exvius kind of broke me out of that stupor, right? Here's how it worked. Brave Exvius had a 1% drop rate per the max rarity character, which was the 7-star character back in the day. The game came out with no pity. So imagine that. This is the start of how gacha was, dude. 1% drop rate, no pity. So you could literally pull for hundreds of times, and if you were unlucky enough, you just would not get a character you want, no matter how much or how badly you wanted it. Later, and I don't remember when, but much later, from if I'm recalling correctly, they introduced a pity, which worked a little bit like what Nikkei's does right now, whereas you spent your pulls, you would get currency, and then you would be able to use this currency to buy the character that you really, really wanted. I say here between 120 and 160 pulls because here's the shit. Check this out. There were 7-star characters that were rarer than other 7-star characters. Now, ain't that some bullshit? So, for example, if you wanted Cloud or Sephiroth, from other Final Fantasy game, they would 100% be rarer than even the normal 7 stars that the game had. So it would be from 120 to 160 pulls, depending on the character you wanted, and around $200 to $300 to be able to get the character. There was no weapon banner, but the reason why I bring FFBE up isn't just because there wasn't a weapon banner, but it's to tell you guys how much of a bullshit things in this game would be. This game had no limit for how many characters that had the same name, like the same character, you could use in a team. There were times in this game where the meta actually was to have a team with 6 copies of the same character. And what did the whales have to do to make sure that they were on top of the charts? They would have to pull a bazillion times on that unit to make that stupid goddamn team that had 6 people in the same unit, dude. It is insane. I legitimately played the game for about 6 or 8 months, enjoying the story, kind of even liking the end game, until I learned that you could do that. And when that happened, I was out so fast. I was completely done. Left, never looked back. I didn't even bother to research the story. That's something I actually should do right now, I think, because I enjoyed it. But that was how it was. And even in that era, we had other games that were starting to become something, right? On to other games that were really, really popular at the time. So FFBE came out a while ago. I think it was something like 1 or 2 years before this. In 2018, Fate Grand Order came out in 2016. But in 2018, we got the global server. And the global server is where I started playing because I really, really wanted to understand the story. FGO is a game that I play to this day because it's written by my favorite writer, not necessarily because of the game itself. If it were just the game itself, I honestly wouldn't recommend it to anybody. If you're a Type Moon fan, just watch the story. Just look, just research FGO lore and watch the lore there. Don't even play the game. But anyways, I wanted to talk about this one because it's a game I play to this day. Mostly because of that. And it started with a 0.7% drop rate. It's still a 0.7% drop rate, if I'm not mistaken. It's akin to what we talked about Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. It started with no pity. There was absolutely no guarantee. Guys, in this game, right, so 300 pulls is about 900 quartz, which is the currency. In this game, I have gone 1,270 something quartz without getting a character I wanted. And when the game had no pity. That happened with the goddess Ishtar. 2019, I want to say. 1,200 quartz without a single copy of Ishtar. That happened to me. I almost threw my phone out the window. I almost quit the game forever. But I guess we're stronger than that. I don't know. After Genshin Impact came out, the game introduced pity, which is crazy. However, the pity isn't that big of a thing. It's a 300 pull pity, and it's going to cost you around $400 to $500 if you need to hit that. Let me be 100% real with you guys. It's not that I want to play devil's advocate. I just want you guys to know that this is the worst possible scenario. When we streamed me getting a NP5 Aoko, which is the max dupe for FGO, I spent around $750 for all 5 copies. So if, on average, it's going to be less than this for you to get, one of the characters you want. But if you have to go all the way to 300 pulls, which is something that very well might happen, then you're going to have to spend somewhere along the lines of $400 to $500 for 1 copy. That is insane. Okay? But I really, really want you guys to understand what this means, what gacha games were, and what they are turning into right now because of fucking competition. 2 really important things about B and FGO is FFB, for all the bullshit it had, it didn't have a weapon banner. You'd have to craft your weapons and do that kind of shit, but you could do that just by playing the game. FGO does not have a dedicated craft essence banner. Craft essence is analogous. It's a little bit similar to what the weapons are in the more, popular Chinese gachas today. But the Cs are not that important. You're going to get them just by pulling on the characters anyways. And the very, very, very good craft essences that you need to constantly farm on the game or to have good, single target or whatever, they're usually Cs you can get for free just from playing the events in the game. So an important thing to note about the Japanese gachas is that yes, they're very, very, very bullshit in their rates and their pity. Most of them are like this. However, something to keep in mind. Anyway, when was it, guys? 2021, 2020, somewhere around the turn of the decade, this company called MiHoYo, known for critically acclaimed gacha game Honkai Impact 3rd, released their take on a fusion between gacha game and Zelda Breath of the Wild. Everybody fucking knows this. Genshin Impact comes out. And for all the shit that we talk about Genshin Impact in this channel, or about Hoyoverse, because we just want them... And again, it's not because we hate the games. We want them to be better. That's why we talk shit. For everything that we've ever said about Hoyoverse, they were extremely revolutionary in the gacha scene. Not only were they putting out a gacha game that looked better than any other gacha game at the time, nothing was even comparable to Genshin Impact in the gacha genre when it came out. Guaranteed. Genshin Impact looked amazing for something that you got to play it on a fucking phone. So because it looked so much like a normal game, it broke the mainstream barrier. A lot of streamers talk about this, and this I think is insane and it's really cool. When it broke the mainstream barrier, it was so funny that I saw so many people jumping into it and getting really, really mad at the gacha system and the stamina system and all these things that they weren't Genshin Impact things. They were gacha game things. And I remember telling people, I think your criticism is 100% valid. Stamina systems suck ass. Character gachas are very, very predatory. I absolutely agree. But it's not really a Genshin Impact thing. It's a whole thing, dude. It's a whole gacha ecosystem shitty thing that, Asia has got going on. So on top of all this revolution, Hoyoverse really killed it when it came to the gacha system. And here's how it worked. The drop rate was a little bit worse than what normally the Japanese games have to offer. However, it had a consolidated one for every time you do a 10 pull, so that goes up to 1.6. The pity was at 90 pulls, not at fucking 300, not at fucking 160. The pity was at 90 pulls. If we look just at this that I've presented to you guys right now, that's less than half. So when you look at it from a layman's area, from like just, superficially, it seems so much better. That's the genius that they pulled out. Now, they invented this fucking well, they didn't invent it. That's not correct. But they added something that we call the 50-50 system. So we had a much, much smaller count to be able to achieve the 5-star character that we wanted, but there was only a 50% chance that we were actually going to get the character we wanted. But the big deal is that on average, you would also spend less than you were in these other games here. The only way you would get all the way to $400 is if you had absolutely nothing to pull with no free currency, and you lost your 50-50. So the way that Genshin Impact is right now, even with a weapon banner that's 37.5% for you to get what you want, think about this. You get the character, but the weapon banner is 37.5, dude. Even with all of this, Genshin Impact still shit on the other gacha games at the time. And this is something that I really, really miss from Hoyoverse. Because they became as huge as they did, I'm gonna call it the Pokemon effect. Doesn't really matter now. When they weren't big, they did something that was objectively better than most of the other gachas were doing, so they could fucking win. But now they're still winning. So they don't need to change shit because people are still going to spend their money no matter what. And I don't think we should be doing that. The time that a new game would come out that would try to compete with you, you should try to compete back. If just for the respect of your players, to create loyalty. But that's not what we see. Regardless, insane jump here, right? And this comes from what? Comes from fucking competition. Again, now that Genshin Impact was huge, everybody wanted a piece of the fucking pie. Now everybody saw what happened, saw that they had a really, really good formula going, saw that they were making so much fucking money that they didn't know where to put it all. So everybody wanted a piece of the pie. Kudo Games, which was a developer that already made a competitor to Honkai Impact 3rd in the way of, what's it called, sorry? In the way of Punishing Ray Raven, now would come out with their competitor for Genshin Impact, an open world action-oriented gacha game. Wuthering Waves comes out 2024. We'll never forget that day. And they put their dick on the table. They want to be better than their competitors. Not just in gameplay, not just in character design, not just in narrative, whatever the fuck they're trying to do, but in what really matters for the player. So I'm not counting Star Rail and ZZZ, which, you know, have better weapon rates and that kind of stuff. But I want to talk about this in Genshin Impact just because they're so similar in what kinds of games they are. Wuthering Waves came out with a 0.8%. That's, you know, 0.2 more, which is better. And a 0.8% consolidated drop rate. The pity count was 10 pulls lower, right? That's got to make a difference. It still had the goddamn 50-50. But here's the deal. The dreaded weapon banner was 100%. You can play the game knowing that any and every currency you place on the weapon banner is getting you that freaking weapon, no matter what. This was insanely huge. Dare I say it made freaking history in the way that these games are monetized. We went from $140 to $400 to $160 to $320 on average, from what we know. But we also get a 100% weapon banner. So you can like whichever game you want more. Right? I understand that some people might just prefer Genshin Impact over Wuthering Waves because it seems more casual. They're just used to the controls better. They like the animations better. Maybe they like the characters better. I don't know how you would like that better, but some people do, and I completely understand it. And that's okay. But we have to see, and we have to admit, that Wuthering Waves has objectively a better gacha system. So this is insane. And again, all of this because of competition. And really quick, just to go ahead and complete our little saga here. This year we saw Arknights come out. The important thing about Arknights is that it did what people didn't do yet, which is give you 100% for which is give you a character that you want 100% chance for 120 pulls. And the price you pay for the premium currency here is lower. So that's why the amount of money is lesser even than NT. Like, it's less amount of money even compared to NT. But it is what it is. And you have a quote-unquote free weapon banner because the more you pull on characters, the more you get to pull on the weapon, right? On to NT, coming out today. NT did the one thing I have been always telling everybody that they could do, and that even if they did this, there is no way they wouldn't make money to keep the game afloat, to keep the game in development, and to even better the game. NT just came in, 0.99% character, consolidated 1.88%, 90 pulls, 100%. You get the character, no questions asked, we're good. Now there is a drawback, right? A lot of people talk a lot about how NT's gacha pulls are much better, and they are. Not saying they're not, but NT does have a weapon banner, and the weapon banner is a 2575 with an 80 pity. So the weapon banner is way worse than anything else. I guess this is where they're trying to make back the money that they think they're losing from 0.90 pulls. but that's on them. Anyway, all of this, and I wanted to go with you guys for you guys to see that whenever we talk about how competition and saturation in the gacha gaming space is good for the players, this is what we mean. I really want to talk about this because gacha tribalism is something that I see more and more every day. I thought that people would wake up once new gacha games started coming out. Once they saw, something that like Genshin Impact, where you saw that, holy fuck, man, Wuthering Waves is giving away weapons for 100%, chance. Genshin, can you please do that? Like, I want to keep playing your game. Help me to keep playing your game. Respect me as a player. I thought that everybody would wake up and everybody would make these companies actually compete with each other. But that's not what I'm seeing. All I'm seeing is over and over extremes amount of copium to try and defend billion-dollar companies to keep doing what they're fucking doing. It is insane to me. I cannot fathom this. I understand loving a game, especially if you're younger, but I cannot, for the love of me, understand defending a game that is simply not trying because it already has what it needs. So if anybody that's watching this gets something out of this video, is that our money is precious. And these games, this is real life proof that these games are fighting tooth and nail for us. They're trying to make us think that they need these gachas to be able to turn a profit. That we need to have a 50-50 or we need to have a 90-pity or whatever. Like, whatever it is, they're trying to make you, this is my opinion, they're actually trying to gaslight everyone into thinking they need all of this shit when they really don't. However, I understand loving these games. I really do, man. I've been playing them for like almost 10 years now. I understand loving these games. I understand wanting to play them. And I'm not going to judge you for playing any of the games that we talk about today. But we have to wake up and understand that these things are bullshit. And if you are going to support something, try out the new game. Try out the competitor. Try out their no gacha system. Maybe you're going to like it better, dude. Somebody that is trying hard, somebody that is somebody that's at the very least pretending they give a fuck. That's who you should support. Now, out of these games, you guys know me. I do spend money on them from time to time, especially on the newer ones when they do things that I think are cool. But the games that I spent the most money this year were games that I wanted to see their systems flourish, and that I wanted to see more players understand that a game can survive and can be good and can have quality without the need of a gacha system. The only reason why the gacha system is relevant is because one dude thought it would be cool, tried it out, and it worked like a charm. But everyone, we can wake up and we can see what these systems are for what they really are. All of them are turds, dude. All that we're doing here is trying to find the most polished turd because we love the games. So whatever, man, we play them. I don't judge anybody. You guys know what I'm saying. Now, here's where I think we should spend our money. Do It Night Abyss was the only game, if you consider Do It Night Abyss to be part of the gacha gaming genre, which it is not because it's not a gacha game, one would say. It was supposed to be one, and the theming of the game, the way the game plays, the way the characters get built, the way you get characters, yada, yada, yada. They are... Do It Night Abyss... if you put Do It Night Abyss in kind of this Venn diagram, it is the only game of the gacha scene that I played this year that I actually enjoyed building my characters from start to finish. Because I had an end date, I knew at this point my character would be complete, I knew what I had to build in my character to make it optimal, and I knew that I could get it done at fucking one point in my life. And if I wanted a character, I'll just pay $50, man. Hey, it's what Last Descendant does. It's what Warframe does. Last I heard, Warframe was doing fine. So if Do It Night Abyss fails, it's not because of their monetization system. It's because the gameplay just isn't as good as it's supposed to be. It's a game I've been playing this game up to today. The fact that they got rid of all the gacha, all the character gacha in it is absolutely phenomenal. It just makes me so happy every time I want to try someone out. If I want to support the game, I know that my money is guaranteed to give me something I want. I know that I'm actually buying something that I want instead of actually gambling like an idiot. That's just my feelings on it. That's also a lot of PTSD from playing these fucking games for so long. Where Winds Meet, same thing, man. Very, very, very satisfying gameplay. Insanely cool mechanics in the bosses. One of the best combats I've seen in games that came out recently. And only has a skin gacha, right? It's so cool. Really fun. And then here in the middle we have the icon for Ananta, or the future icon for Ananta, one would believe. And Ananta, for what it's looking like, I'm pretty sure that everyone that watched the Ananta videos and the trailers, if you asked them to bet money on it, they would have told you it would be a gacha game. But guess what? There's no character gacha. Of course there's going to be skin gacha. We're never going to get rid of gachas, man. Now gachas are in, we're fucked. We're going to have to boycott every single game that comes out if we want to get rid of gachas. At least, you know, a more oriental games. However, the fact that you have these games, these ones are the ones actually trying to compete. These ones aren't pretending to compete. These ones are the actual competitors. And these ones are the ones that deserve your attention at the very least. The games you're supposed to try out at the very least. I'm really excited. And I believe that the more saturation we get in this genre, the better it's going to be for everybody. And the biggest thing here is look at how many games we have that are still set to come out in the gacha scene or whatever you want. We have Silver Palace, we have Azure Premilia, we have... Fuck, man. I don't even know. Just look at how many games are coming out. And like, dude, it feels like every week, besides the one we're really excited for, like Azure, like Silver Palace and Azure Premilia, it feels like every week I see a trailer of a new game that's coming out, like Unending Dawn or something like that. It's crazy. And that's all I'm saying, man. It's this competition, you know, bottom line, this competition and this saturation is good for everybody. We need to take advantage of this, and we need to learn to try out new things and support games. And whenever we get those player surveys that you get in any gacha game that you're playing at any time, make sure you tell them, dude, like, holy fuck, dude. Tell them, for the love of God, this other game that's coming out doesn't have a gacha system. Or at the very least, you know, the weapon banner is 100%. Where's our weapon banner 100% here? Come on, we want to play your game. Do it, dude. At the very least, you need to do that. But no, I see players all the time just with insane amounts of copium thinking that the game that they're playing deserves to have a shittier system than the others just because they did something that you thought was cool like a couple of years ago. You know, so just because the game did something you thought was awesome in 2020, man, you're gonna allow it to take control of your life and do whatever it wants with you and make you spend way more than other games just because? It is insane. Project Spirits, dude. Holy crap. If Project Spirits ends up actually being a live service game with no character gacha, I don't know. I don't think Shift Up is gonna do that, unfortunately, because like we already have like other games that they're making that don't need that or whatever. But if Project Spirits ends up being a live service game with no character gacha, I don't think I'm playing anything else for the rest of my life. As far as live service, you know, kind of gacha games, I don't think there will be any reason, because we know the story is gonna be good. We know the character designs are going to be amazing. We know the companies, even though sometimes they pull on us with China, you know, making it easier for China and giving China quality of life, that kind of bullshit. Yeah, I'm on to you, Shift Up. Even though they do that, I still think they're the best thing in this scene, dude. Amazing. Should the games remove gacha and make it a normal game? Love Shift Up. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's what Ananta, Where Winds Meet, and what Night Abyss did, and I think that we should support these kinds of games way more, man, than the others. I'm not saying like, oh, dude, I fucking love ZZ, man. I just want to play ZZ, goddammit. Like, dude, sure, dude. Yeah, and I'm not gonna judge you for spending money on something that you love doing or you love playing, but when that fucking review comes up, you better tell them what the fuck are you doing. You're losing people to the competition. You know that? They have a 100% weapon gacha. You were right there in Wuthering Waves. It's that kind of shit that I think I don't know, man. On top of everything, look forward to the games that are trying, man. Like, you know, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink is coming out, even though it's from Cygames. It's a game that's going to have zero gacha in it. It's a fantasy RPG Monster Hunter type hub MMO, man. I'm so excited for it. What's that other one? Legend of Dragon Sword or whatever? Dragon Sword Awakening. So yeah, the other game, Dragon Sword Awakening, which is, if I'm not mistaken, another game that was supposed to be gacha, and they just gave up on the gacha and are making it a single player experience. Dude, these are the games you should buy, man. These are the games you should support, you know? I understand the struggle. Believe you me, I do, dude. But I just want to put this out there, and I want to make sure that everybody knows what's happening and knows how to react to the saturation that's going on and how good it is for us, man. But yeah, hope I got my point across. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, dude, if you did, please like and comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you can. I really, really appreciate you guys being here. It's so much fun talking about this kind of stuff, dude. And it's, I don't know, I really, really hope that the market just becomes better. I really hope players just wake up, dude. And I really hope that we get what we deserve, dude. I really hope these companies start fighting for us rather than us fighting for them. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, it's been your boy. That's it. Peace!